Hello, this is Victoria Vives and we are here in a special show. We're going to have two very special guests. Rob Gauthier will be channeling Aridiv and we will have the answers to the 10 questions that you would ask an extraterrestrial. So I've been talking with many of you in Facebook, in YouTube, in my website. So you have been sending me questions that we can ask an extraterrestrial. So we're going to be doing that. And then at the end, we will have also a Q&A. So you can call in right now, start calling, and the phone number is going to be 347-380-8788. And then just press 1 so that we know that you want to ask a question. And at the end of the show, those who have been there the longest will get their answers also to their questions. So let's just take a moment to meditate together so that we can tune in with each other and with the energy of the cosmos, with our soul families, our galactic families. So I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and focus on your breathing. Breathe mindfully in and out. And in order to expand into the universe, first we're going to visualize roots coming out from our feet into the earth. And this is going to help us feeling stable and having a strong foundation to reach further in the universe. So visualize those roots coming into Mother Earth, giving you nourishment, stability, grounding. And at the same time, start breathing through your heart so that your intentions are pure and your soul family and galactic family can clearly hear you. Good. And as you breathe in and out, you start bringing more and more love around yourself, creating a shield, a filter all around you, so that only beautiful things come in and out of your energetic field. Good. Now focus right in the center of your head, in your pineal gland. Allow it to activate, being able to perceive extrasensory information so that you can clearly connect with those that are not in this dimension. And at the top of your head is your crown chakra, so allow it to open, receiving all the energy from the cosmos, radiance from all the star systems, connecting with your galactic family and feeling that connection deep within you. Go. And take one more deep cleansing breath. Good, and you can slowly open your eyes. Good. So with this introduction, we are going to welcome Rob into this show. Rob Gauthier, hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here, Victoria. Thank you very much for having me on.
This is such an amazing opportunity, all these questions from so many people. And it is so interesting that many of us have the same questions. So I feel it is a great way to complete this year and get ready for 2015 for really going deeper into this connection with other galaxies.
I agree. This next year coming up is going to be a great year, and what a way to end this year, huh?
Yes, and I already had you on the show, so many of the people listening may know about you, but would you just give a short introduction about how you connected with Trev and also with Aridiv, and what is the difference that you notice between the two connections?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go with the shorter version here because it is kind of a longer story, but I went through a pretty rough patch in my life for a few years, and when I started coming out of that rough patch, I started finding more things out about myself. I started connecting back to seeing the beauty in things of life instead of just the grimness and just the depressing versions of what life has to offer and the way to perceive it. And during that time when I found more energy in myself to start manifesting different things, I found that meditation was one way to clear myself out, that it was probably the most profound way to be in a state of excitement and ease and relaxation. So I started meditating a lot. I started meditating and I started learning from these people at a spiritualism church, which is basically a church that believes that there's an afterlife, that the soul is an eternal thing, and that by connecting to the entities who have passed on, you're able to have proof about that. So they sponsor mediumship. They have a church center in Lilydale, New York, and from that center they certify intuitives and psychics, and their terminology is mediums. So they connect to all these people, and in the church that I was going to, I met this guy. I did a session with him. Everything about it was on mark and perfect, and I asked him to start teaching me, so he did. And I went through that whole process, and eventually, after meditating many hours per day, like literally sometimes I would be in a deep meditative state 3 times a day for an hour to an hour and a half plus. When I wasn't doing that, I would use this technique that I had taught myself, which was basically closing your eyes and experiencing the world through only sound and only that extrasensory perception.
Wow.
And once I started doing that, I started finding that more of myself was connecting. But eventually I hit a plateau in my meditation, so I went from that period to jumping up to a new level of meditation. And I looked on the internet, and through synchronicity I found this program called the Gateway Experience from the Monroe Institute, which was called Hemi-Sync's Gateway Experience. And I used it, and it took my meditation to a whole new level. It taught me so many different new techniques. I incorporated those with a few techniques I made up, and I did that for a long period of time. It took me 4 months to get through the series, which I kind of fast-tracked. I went a little quicker than I believed that I should at that point. And several months later, during a night I was having a very difficult time, I went into a meditation to recenter myself, and when I was meditating, I had an astral projection. And what that is a lot like an out-of-body experience, but when you have an out-of-body experience, you don't always perceive things that are outside of your natural vibrational state. So anything that's multidimensional or higher densities, in an astral projected state, you can perceive these things. That night, I was put into this area during my astral projected state that was like a room, and I didn't know where it was. It looked very funny to me. There were a lot of things that were very simple, but yet some things had some technology there that I knew was above and beyond. So I figured I might have went into a visualization or a dream state, or just that something had happened that was so different than what I was used to experiencing in meditations. But the problem was, it felt so real. It felt like as if I was in my body, but somewhere else. It was more intense too. In your waking state, you have your normal 5 senses, and sometimes tap into that extrasensory, but the extrasensory was just as strong as the rest of my senses. It's intuitively, I just knew things. And you've probably been through that in a dream state when you're going through, you see somebody's house and you say, hey, this is so-and-so's great-grandmother's house, and there's no way you could know that, but you just do. And that's the feeling that I was getting. And as I'm waiting there, I'm looking at this language that I have no idea what it is, and eventually it kind of morphs into a language that I understand, in English. And it said something to the equivalent of, please be patient, someone will be with you soon. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought maybe I was having some dream state about being in a waiting room at a doctor's office in the future or something. And so I'm waiting, and right after that, just settling in comes this gigantic 7-foot reptilian-looking entity, very large, very... it wasn't a dominating presence, but it was very very large and very intimidating. And I looked at him, my heart stopped. I would just gasp. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
And within 2 or 3 seconds, yes, it was absolutely amazing. And after about 3 seconds, that fear turned into calmness, instant calmness. In fact, it was more than calmness. It was a level of love that I never was able to experience before that. And I felt that, and it calmed me down. And this entity comes in and explains that he is an entity who is connected to me, that the things in reality I believed were not the way that it was truly represented, and that he was there to connect to me if my desire, if my will was there. He told me that his name was Treb Boryetny, and that he would connect to me basically whenever I desired to. We only spoke for a few minutes. It was very startling, and I left, and I didn't go back for 3 days. And understanding the point where I was at that period, 3 days of not meditating was like, it was impossible. It's like not eating for 2 weeks. It just,
oh my
I didn't do that. It was a lifestyle. Yeah. And from that period, I would go and just keep connecting to him, and myself and him just built a relationship for about 2 years. And during that time, he would tell me all this information, and once in a great while, he'd mention this entity that he called Deneb Cygnus, and it's Cygnus. When I say Cygnus, sometimes people think the word is sickness, and it wasn't Cygnus. So Deneb Cygnus, and he mentioned that quite a few times, and he would tell me things that he had learned from this entity, and I went through. And after 2 years, I wanted to start channeling, because I had seen other channeling. In fact, one channeling I had heard was something that Treb had guided me to in order to assure that I wasn't going crazy and that my connection with him was real when I first started. And then 2 years later, I looked at that and I seen, hey, channeling is possible. So if I'm going to share what Treb's teaching me, I should be able to let people connect to him to be able to do the same. So I did.
Wow.
And during that time, I've been publicly channeling for a while, and probably a little over a year and a half, 2 years after I started channeling, a guy got a hold of me named Jefferson Viscardi, wanted to write a book with Treb. So I said, why not? Let's do it. And we got together. I channeled, and then we transcribed the channeling sessions themselves, and then we created this book. And in one part of the book, Jefferson asked Treb to connect with other entities to give a message to Earth. And the entity that he connected to, his name was Ardif. And Ardif is basically to Treb how Treb is to me. It's Treb's higher guidance. It's Treb's entity that he connects to learn from a higher density. And this was the most profound portion of the book. It was about 20-some pages of the deepest information about how the universe works, the universal structure, and how consciousness evolves. That's where Ardif came in. And once in a great while, I would connect to Ardif, and I would learn things from him. Treb would connect to him and then connect to me, so I would be able to channel Ardif, and I did that a few times, probably 5 or less times. And then towards the middle of this year, he came through during one of the radio shows that Kalina was doing, the Earth Experience, her own show, came through and told Kalina, I'm ready to start working with you guys. And when he said that, he said it openly, he said it directly, and ever since then, my connection with him's been getting much, much stronger. Now I'm able to channel him individually just as easy as I'm able to channel Treb. Before, when I channeled any other entity, it would always be from the connection of Treb. Treb would connect to me, and then he would connect to these entities to bring in the information. Now I'm able to directly connect to Ardif by himself and to channel him directly. And this was something that was wonderful and beautiful, and that's what brings us to today.
Wow, so that might have been just your own raising of frequency that allowed that a stronger connection with Aridif, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. What had happened is, in my life in the last year and a half, I've grown probably more than I did the first few years I was channeling. Well, I won't say that, because I did make a huge jump when I first started meditating. I mean, I changed my life completely. But in this last year and a half, I have made a huge extension in my own consciousness. I've opened up. If you go back and listen to the channelings from 2 years ago in mid-2012, and then you go to listen to the ones that we're doing today, the information flows so much better, because I'm letting go more things of myself that don't resonate with me. I'm letting go of more resistance in myself, and that translates through the channeling. It translates very well, and you could see the quality of the channeling now compared to then, and you can also see it getting better every day. And that, raising my own vibration, opening my own energy, is what's helped allow Aridif to come in without resistance and with a quality of connection that he has.
Wow, how fascinating. I love it. And I love really your dedication, because, you know, I feel that I could explore more that area, but for some reason I'm not. But you are really, really dedicating yourself to it, and that's what I really appreciate. And you have such an easy way to do it, and so natural. And I really appreciate it and admire about you, what you are doing, and with the Enlightenment Evolution Network, all the things that you are creating. It is such a strong force, positive force to bring transformation to the world. So I really appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you very much. And I appreciate people like you who are excited to share, who are excited to get on and share your own heart and then connect to other people. Sometimes on spiritual journeys, people can get to a point where they believe they have everything figured out, and that talking to other people or working with other people is irrelevant, because why would they do that when they know everything themselves? And when we all get together, more information can be found. When we get together, more energy can be connected, and we have better variety of the spectrum of energy that all of us truly are. So by you doing this show, by all the people on the network doing the show, and by myself doing whatever it can to get us all together, that in itself is a blessing, and each individual energy and collective energy is amazing. I love doing what I do.
And we love it. We are very, very grateful. Okay, so I'm going to remind our listeners that they can call. So if you are listening right now online, make sure to also call on the phone, because if you call 347-308-8788 and press 1, that means that you have a question for us. And at the end of the 10 top questions for extraterrestrial beings, we will be opening the line for a couple of questions, okay? So make sure to press 1 if you are calling in, so that we know that you want to ask a question.